Are you feeling overwhelmed, stuck in a storm of stress? Are you drowning in a sea of deadlines, demands, and doubts? Are stress and anxiety suffocating your sanity? Are you rocking on the edge of burnout, unsure to find your footing? Want to find calm in the chaos? Today, we're going to be talking about thriving through turbulence, managing increased stress. Welcome to the High Point Talk, where we explore the intersection of life, leadership, and legacy, where you will be encouraged, equipped, and empowered with personal, professional, and business tools that would help you live well, wisely, humbly, and boldly. I'm your host, MENA, international speaker, training, and coach in transformational leadership. Today, I have the privilege to have my friend Josh Varner, and he is a renowned trauma-informed speaker, and he focuses on mental health. He's an expert on that, and he's passionate advocate for supporting students impacted by childhood trauma. He has over 300 dynamic presentations nationwide. You have got to follow him. He's all over the United States, bringing this value to schools and organizations that are basically trying to bring this awareness to this trauma-based inform. He's a seasoned mental health professional, school counselor, and program coordinator for at-risk students, and he's an amazing speaker. But more than anything, I am the privilege to call him my friend. And today we're going to be talking about thriving through turbulence with stress, and then he's going to be telling us about that. So welcome. Stress affects millions worldwide, impacting mental and physical health. So Josh is going to help us today to have a better understanding of this. So let's dive in. Josh, welcome. And it's a privilege for me to have you here today.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, HEBER. I'm excited to talk to your audience today.
Thank you so much. So here's the first question. How does stress affect our bodies mentally and physically?
Yeah, I think there's some misconceptions about stress. I think most of the time we think about stress, we think it's a mental issue. It's mental. Really, stress is a physiological thing. It's really unreleased fight or flight energy.
Hmm.
And so this is a wild concept that your audience probably hasn't heard of before, but your body's really not made for the world you live in. I know that's a really weird concept, but your body's made for 99.999% of human history, which was when something was a threat, your body wants you to run away from it.
Hmm.
And so it flooded your bloodstream with adrenaline, cortisol, glucose, all these things to make you run faster. And if you couldn't run, your body wanted you to fight the threat. And then so the same things would help you fight harder and stronger and longer. And by the time you got done running or you got done fighting, you burned through the glucose, the cortisol, the adrenaline,
Hmm.
and your stress went up, performance enhancer. And then by the time the fight was over, the stress was down. But now you think about the modern world, your body still operates that way, but the things that are stressing you out aren't things you can run away from, aren't things you can fight. And
Hmm.
so the stress goes up and it doesn't leave your body. And then you add tomorrow's stress and then the next day's stress and the next day's stress. And some of you guys are feeling it right now. You're feeling that heaviness in your shoulders, the tightness in your back, that queasy stomach, that tight chest. That's how your body's telling you, hey, I got toxic amounts of stress in my body. But most of us don't have tools, or at least healthy tools, to deal with that stress. And a lot of people, unfortunately, start leaning on those unhealthy ones to numb those sensations in our bodies instead of having evidence-based practices to release the stress or to complete the stress cycle is what I say.
Wow, that's amazing. So what are some common stress triggers in today's fast pace? Because you're talking about,
Yeah.
in the past used to be that, but nowadays, what are some triggers in our crazy fast-paced world?
Yeah. No, I think you're hitting on that a big one there. But the number one thing I hear if we're playing Family Feud, the number one answer, ding, money. People are stressed about
Mm.
money today more than ever, inflation, all the things, right? And so, a lot of people are constantly focused on, how am I going to make ends meet? But then, you hit on something big, which I think is we're all overextended in today's world. There's not enough rest, relaxation. We have job, then we have another job. We talk a lot about women in the modern world having the second shift. That is real. They have the same responsibilities that women a generation did, but now they have these big careers on top of that. One that doesn't get talked about enough, and this isn't a who's got it harder thing. I don't want to step on toes here, but dads are spending 3 times more time with their children in this generation than we did a generation ago. So dads are
Really?
doing more home too, and we're stretched a lot thinner too. And so a lot of times we, and I'm not saying who's got it harder, who's got it worse, but I think what we are seeing is everyone is stretched thin. Everyone is doing more than we've ever done, and that constant stimulation. We don't have enough time in nature and peaceful moments and quiet moments, and our nervous systems are really really ramped up in that modern world. So I think those are some of the things that are. And then
Wow.
I hear health issues a lot too from people. My parents are aging, my kid's sick, I'm sick. I hear that as a really common stressor too.
Wow. So on that note, the last one, my wife and I, we come to the conclusion that we are in the sandwich stage and we are the bologna in the middle, really, because
Hmm.
so we have our aging parents right now, and
Hmm.
then our kids are still young, so we are
Yeah.
caught in between. And so we are, like you say, all the time, constant, like reminders, alarms. And the other day, what happened? I brought the wrong kids to the right appointment. So I just came to this went to this part where uh, I go to the appointment. I'm at the right place, but I got the wrong kids because
Mm.
it was like it's so busy. I just got so distracted and all those things. So that's interesting. You mentioned that. So what are some scientifically proven stress release techniques that you can talk about? Like a lot of people talk about the breathing, the
Hmm.
mindfulness. Some people do yoga. Some others do meditation. If you're a person of faith, you pray.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
let's talk about a little bit about that.
Yeah, so there's a lot of different techniques, and I'll definitely be diving into those more during our event. But you hit on some big ones. Breathing is one that a lot of people don't realize how impactful it is. And what's going on when you take a big deep breath, and then you pause, and then you let it out, and you pause. What's going on is your diaphragm is rubbing against your vagus nerve. Your vagus nerve connects your brain to your organs. So the brain says fight, flight, sends a message down the vagus nerve, and the organs release the adrenaline, the glucose, the cortisol, the things that make you fight, flight, right? And so when you stimulate that vagus nerve with deep breathing, you're like hacking your own body and saying, hey, we're not gonna go fight, flight, even though the brain's saying to. And
Mm.
that's a way you can stop that response. Navy SEALs do it the whole mission. They call it Navy SEAL breathing. Guys, it's square breathing, but it sounds cooler if you call it Navy SEAL breathing. I work with police officers, SWAT teams, for example.
Okay.
They do tactical breathing. Tactical breathing is square breathing or box breathing. It's the same thing. You can also do it by singing, chanting, humming. They all stimulate the vagus nerve. And that's what the yogis knew, like 1,000 years ago. And we're like, shut up, hippies. But there's a ton of great science behind it now where it's like, we know what those yogis were talking about works. It gets stress out of your body. It completes the stress cycle. And so any of those activities stimulate the vagus nerve. They work great, and you got to kind of find what works for you. Some people are like, I love singing in the shower in the morning. I like singing in my
Yeah.
car. Some people like humming, but it's amazing when you can just be intentional. What I love about breath is I always have access to it. So I can be in a really stressed. I can be stuck in the car. For
Mhm.
me, being a former school person, I can have a kid in my office melting down. I can take a deep breath anytime. I can use that tool anywhere. Well, a lot of the tools I'm going to talk to you about or you can't use in every situation. So what's good about breath is, and yoga I found is the best way to learn it. So if you're like, I don't really know how to do this, this isn't something that comes natural to me, take a yoga class. Really, if it's a good instructor, they'll really teach you how to use your diaphragm. And a lot of people think yoga has to be hard. You can do a restorative class. You're laying on the mat the whole time on different blocks. It's not, challenging the way you think it would be, but it
Yeah.
can be really, really relaxing and fantastic for your body. So I think that's a great thing
That's
for us all to
awesome.
learn.
Hey,
Yeah.
would it be okay if you can uh, walk us through that? How did you call it? The four square, or how do you call it?
Yeah. So square breathing
Yeah.
is
Can you help us?
so big breath in, and then you pause, and then you get out, pause. So breath in, pause, breath out, pause. So that's what square breathing or box breathing
Wow.
is. Lots of apps you can learn how to do it that'll walk you through it. There's lots of different techniques on it. I'm not saying one technique's better than another. I think we kind of get too in the weeds sometimes. it's really all about that diaphragm stimulation. And so
Yeah.
the more you can, and that's why some people, when they work out, part of the reason why working out works is you're breathing hard, you're expanding that diaphragm. There's other tons of benefits to exercise. That's one of our strategies too. But yeah,
So
there's
are
a lot of
you
us go like going to church, for example. I love singing at church.
there you go.
We, that's how I connect, right, to God. But I also really like getting my diaphragm and letting the stress get out of my body. I complete stress cycle every time I sing at church. And so to me, it works for a multitude of reasons.
Wow. And so are you telling me that, I mean, I don't want to minimize this, but something as simple as that can decrease our stress?
Oh, absolutely. Evidence based, proven by science, get stress out of your body. Absolutely works.
Well, I
Yeah.
hope you guys are taking notes of this because this is pure gold what Josh is dropping here. So I have a question for you. So I don't know if I'm using this wrongly or not, Oscar. You're the expert here. But when I teach, I teach some of the courses I teach. I focus on attitude, right? Attitude
Hmm.
is not everything, but it's the main thing. And but also, attitude is contagious, a negative or a positive. But then let's move to this other part that I want to talk about too here. So I also said that situational anxiety is contagious too,
Hmm. It
but so
is.
is, but so is joy.
Hmm.
So can you talk a little bit about that? Because with
Hmm.
my kids, I know exactly that if I'm agitated and if I show up with anxiety, it's almost like
Hmm.
instead of like regulating everything, they feed from my own
Oh, they
craziness that
absolutely
I'm bringing. So is
do. Yeah.
that a valid argument there?
Oh, that's real. And it's this phenomenon called mirror neurons. So we
Oh,
feel the way the people around us feel. And that's because we're mammals. We're really fancy mammals. We're mammals. And so we have to communicate stress and safety to each other. Because if you can tell me what's stressful, I'm more likely to survive. Right. And so if you think about those white-tailed deer running around your
mm-hmm,
backyard,
mm-hmm,
one tail pops up.
mm-hmm.
What do the rest of the deer's tails do? They pop up,
Papa,
and collectively,
yes.
the deer flight. They communicate stress. Their bodies get flooded with adrenaline, cortisol, the glucose, and they run away. And they're safer because one deer saw the stress. Well, we don't have tails. I don't know about you, Ever. I don't have a tail. You don't have a tail. So we do it with our faces. And that's how we communicate stress. And so when you come home, you don't have to say a word. Your kids are looking at you saying, "Am I safe?" And if you're
Mm.
anxious, they're going, "I'm not safe." And that's why so many of our kids' development were impacted by COVID. A lot of people don't want to talk about COVID. They're like, it doesn't matter. And for some people, it was a blessing. For some
Mm.
people, it was devastating, right? So not everybody's impacted the same way. But like, for example, last year's group of kindergartners were about 2 when they went
Mhm.
through COVID. Well, some kids had no idea COVID happened. For other
Mm.
kids during that really important developmental time, they were marinating in fear. Their parents were worried about grandma's health, the world's safety, jobs, getting laid off. And so that parent's coming home every day, anxious, anxious, anxious. That kid, they don't know. They just look at the parent and go, "Man, we must not be safe."
Oh
You know what I mean?
my.
And so that's where how impactful that stuff is. But safety and security are the same way too. So if I'm calm, and this is a big thing I talk to educators about, is the teacher, it's really hard when that kid's biting somebody, screaming, yelling, throwing stuff. It's easy to get dysregulated, to get stressed out. But if you're able to use some techniques and stay calm when that kid isn't calm, they're able to find that peace through you. And that's the key to this work. Like a lot of people think it's a specific intervention, it's a magical word you're going to say. And it's like, no, can we get a calm adult around a dysregulated person? That's how they're going to find their peace and calm. The more we do that with them, the more they learn self-regulation. So that's how the brain learns it, is they get thousands of reps at, I had a calm adult calm me down. Now I learned how to be a calm adult. That's the process. I kind of went a little further than what you asked for me there, but
No.
I find this
I
stuff fascinating.
I it never even crossed my mind what you just mentioned about COVID.
Mm,
You brought me back and thinking about, I have a 5-year-old girl. So, that was, I mean, she was like around, kind of two, something like that. And you're exactly right. She had no idea. But my 8-year-old and my
mm.
11-year-old, they remember that.
Yeah, they
And
were taken away from their friends, their
mhm,
activities. I spent a lot of time on college campuses, and now I started working more with colleges, and you can really see the impact with them because they were during those really developmental teen years,
mhm,
and a lot of them, their inability to make eye contact, shake your hand, and you're like, you're 20, 21,
mhm,
22, 19 years old. You should be able to have a conversation with me.
mhm.
A lot of people, because they miss all that stuff, and so that's what I mean. Everybody wants things to be normal. What you're like this group of kindergartners is going to be rough. Go talk to a kindergarten teacher. I talk to them every day. Those kids were 1 when COVID happened.
Yes.
It impacted them bigger. One's more important than 10. 10's more important than 20. So when it happens is a big deal.
Wow. That's so. What role do you think self-awareness play in recognizing stress patterns?
Yeah. So your body's your early warning system. Your body's you need to get, and a lot of us, we're really numb to our bodies. We're not in touch with our bodies. Your body's going to tell you when you need to use these tools that we're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And so for a lot of us, I'm telling you, it's that heaviness in your shoulders,
Mm-hmm.
that tightness in your neck, that
Mm-hmm.
tightness in your back, the
Mm-hmm.
queasy stomach, the tight chest.
That's me.
For some people, their ears get hot. They get a headache, temples, headache. That's how your body's telling you too much stress. And so then it's what I train people to do is, okay, we recognize it. And now what are the tools that I enjoy? This is not a have to, it's a get to. Oh, I'm gonna go connect with a friend. That's an evidence-based way to release stress. I'm gonna go do you talked mindfulness activity. I like coloring in a coloring book, releases stress. My wife likes doing stained glass, for example.
Okay.
That releases stress. And so it's like I got tools, because the big key, what I want to train people to do is stress in, stress out. Stress, I can't control what's coming at me every day.
Okay.
I can control how I get it out of my body. So
Okay.
stress in, stress out, and just have tools in your toolbox that you enjoy. One of my favorite tools is humor, for example.
Yes.
I love to laugh. When we laugh, we stimulate the vagus
Yes.
nerve. We release stress. So I'll do Pandora Comedy Station on my way home.
Yeah.
I'll do Nate Bargatze. I'll do, me and my wife watch The Office. So we're intentional about, hey, today was a rough day. Let's do this stuff that we know we enjoy to get stress out of our bodies.
Wow. Hey, you just validated a couple of things that I'm already doing. So I'm excited about this. Here's the reason why. Because about 3 years ago, I decided I'm not watching news. I only watch what
Good for you.
I need just to kind of like stay informed, right? Because I don't want to be the person under the rock. But what I did is I changed this 3 years ago exactly. So once I'm getting ready to go to bed, the last thing I don't do emails, I don't pay bills, I don't do anything right before going to bed. But you know what I do? I watch 5, 10, 15 minutes of comedy on YouTube. Like,
I love that.
I get
I
that.
thought you were going to say news. I was going to be like, don't do that ever.
No. No, I really actually do, and
That's
I have
awesome.
I have my earbuds, so now my kids make fun of me, my wife too, because there I am. That's my ever time, I'm watching something funny.
That.
And I'm just laughing and laughing and laughing. So I go to bed smiling. I go to bed laughing.
I love that. I love that.
And
that's real. Now your body comes to expect it. The subconscious mind is actually most susceptible right before you go to bed or right after you wake up. So what are you telling your subconscious mind every day? I'm safe. I'm happy. The world's joyful. I mean, you're doing some amazing stuff there. That's actually a great tool. I'm gonna steal from you and put it in my thoughts. I think that's a great idea.
I love comedy too. So I wanna but you also touched something that I've been a little bit of hesitant to share this, and I'm just gonna go public. I'm just gonna go because at the beginning of the year, the first 3-4 months, I had a very stressful. I transitioned to a lot of things, and I was managing a lot of projects at the same time. And next thing I know, like my I get the stress in my stomach, and it affects my digestive system. But then I started, next thing I know, I started kind of like developing a rash on my back. And then I just started just kind of feeling really, and then eventually I went to the doctor. Well, guess what? I was diagnosed with shingles.
Oh, wow.
And so I was like, what? I thought this is for when you're like 60 or 70. And then I tried to get the vaccine. They told me, you cannot get the vaccine until you're 50. And there was a lot of, in a way, there was some shame attached to that because I felt, like, I mean, I don't want to, but I was in a lot of pain. I mean, that's the excruciating pain. It's a burning sensation. It's a long story short. I realized later that the main trigger is because of the high levels of stress that I was going through.
Yeah.
I know.
No, your body's gonna let you know. And that's the thing, like you think 90 to 95% disease comes from stress. So as soon as you were talking about stomach issues, every time your body goes into fight flight, it doesn't think I gotta digest that cheeseburger. It thinks I gotta fight off a bear. So it shuts all that down. And you'll see this with kids. They don't say, I'm being abused, they say my stomach hurts, my stomach hurts, my stomach hurts, my stomach, and because their digestive system's on, off, on, off, on, off all the time. Every time they're going through fight flight, that thing's getting shut down. And so you'll see it appear as a lot of gastrointestinal issues, and you'll see it a lot with like autoimmune diseases, so
Yeah.
psoriasis, diabetes.
Hmm.
There's all these things that ways that stress impacts us, and so I'm sorry you went through that, but that is your check engine light coming on in your car, so to
It
speak, right?
is.
Your body is like, hey, we can't keep this pace. We can't keep living that
Right.
way. And the problem is we did not build our world to meet your needs, my needs. We built our world around money and production. And I'm
Right.
not saying those things are necessarily bad. I like to live indoors. I think you do too. But we did not build our world around meeting your needs. You have basic human needs that will flat out go neglected if you're not intentional about fulfilling them. And that's what a big part of my talk is. Yes, we're going to talk about how to get stress out of your body, but most people are neglecting some basic human needs. And when they get intentional about fulfilling that bucket, 10 minutes here, half hour there, does not have to be a long time. Then they start going, geez, I feel a lot better. Well, yeah, if you're not sleeping, your mental health's not going to be great. If you're not connected with other people, your mental health's not going to be great. And so many times we make ourselves last. We put everything else first. Well,
Hmm.
that's not a recipe for somebody that's going to thrive.
Hmm. And going back to this episode that I went through, the doctor did all kind of tests and they couldn't find anything. And I was diagnosed with high levels of stress, and
Mm-hmm.
I was more upset, right? But whenever I started just figure it out, everything there was, it's exactly right. I was not sleeping right. I was not, you know, uh, uh, exercising as I needed to, and that really took me. And it was a very painful thing that I went through. But here's the thing, you know, how are we supposed to set out boundaries and prioritizing tasks to reduce
All right.
that stress? What can we do?
Well, I'm going to be really blunt here because I think some of your audience needs to hear it really blunt.
Bring it on.
Nobody is going to do it for you but you. So a lot of times they're like, well, if my boss would, your boss ain't going to do it for you. Your boss loves you. You're a workaholic.
Mm.
Your spouse loves you. You're carrying more and you share the load. Your spouse ain't going to do it for you. Your kids, oh my God, your kids will take from you infinitely the rest of your life. That's what they're wired to do. So if you can't set like, hey, I need 30 minutes at the end of a busy day to go take care of myself, then you're going to have poor mental health. Just own it. Say, hey, I don't sleep well. That's why my mental health sucks. Just own it. If you can't take an hour on the weekend to go thrifting, if you like thrifting with a friend, you can't make that a priority. You're not going to have good mental health. If you can't go on a vacation every year, you're not going to have good mental health. And a lot of people say, I can't. Guys, I went to the Rocky Mountains in Canada with my wife. I took a $150 flight. We stayed in a van for the week. It was the best vacation I ever took in my life. So people act like you got to spend this tons of money, this big grand thing. You can go take a tent and go, to southern Missouri and I'd be happy. That's a vacation. And so my point is, it's more about the intentionality. Like you get stressed all day. I get stressed all day. If you don't have a plan on how you're going to get that out, if you're not going to be intentional about meeting your basic human needs, you're going to struggle. And here's how some people need to hear it. I'm going to be really blunt with you here. The number one relationship killer is resentment. Number
Hmm.
one. And so
Wow.
when you give to people from an empty place, and a lot of people are empty, their needs aren't met, the cup's empty, you've all heard that analogy, that leads to resentment. Resentment dissolves relationships. And so sometimes we're given to our kids or our spouse from an empty place, and we end up resenting the people that we want to love. And so
Wow.
that's why it's like you got to take the 30 minutes, you got to take the hour, you got to make it a priority. Because if you don't, why are we doing all this work? Why are we putting all this time in? Why are we, if we can't meet those basic things?
Wow. Let's polish the goal, okay? Because you just dropped
Okay.
some gold. Now let's polish it, okay? Because that was
Okay.
so awesome. So, number one, own it. That's it.
Yeah.
Nobody else is
Yeah.
going to do it for you. You are responsible for yourself. When I coach people, when I mentor, I tell them, I cannot be more excited about your life than you. So
Amen to that.
own it, man. So you're saying you have to do it. Nobody else. Yeah, kids are naturally selfish. They're just gonna take,
Yes.
like you say, as much
Hey man,
as
there's people that are 30, their kids are 30 and they're paying their cell phone bill.
uh,
That's real.
yeah,
Like they'll keep taking from you, man. They
yeah.
will. Yeah.
And then you say this, resentment is the number one killer of relationship. And when you
Yeah.
say that, I was thinking about this. So it starts with the minor misunderstanding that turns into an offense, and then you go to resentment, and then that resentment, I think what happened is that then it start creating root of bitterness,
Hmm.
And when we get to bitterness, it's been said this, that bitterness is like me drinking poison and hoping you will die.
Yeah.
And that was just an amazing thing that you just said here, because it's about owning our stuff. I think that's the
Mm.
biggest point that I'm taking from you right now, that you say, own it. And so here's the thing. So when I teach about prioritizing, I use 3 R's. Okay. So, and you help me out. Let's go here. So the 3 R's are this. I think about what is required of me. So there are
Hmm.
some things that are required of me, right? I'm the only
Yeah.
one who can do that.
Yeah.
Then we go to the return on investment. So what brings you the most return? Like we're talking about, whatever you that looks like for you. But then we go to the what brings you the most reward. So
Mm.
that's the way I prioritize things. What is required of
Mm.
me, what brings me the most reward, return on investment, and then what's required, what brings me the most reward. But here's what I do. Another thing that I wanted to share with you too, just to because those are little things that not that I'm brilliant, other than just almost by accident I discovered this. I I carry or I keep a fishing pole in my carts. Like if you go to my trunk, you're gonna find a fishing pole there. Why do I do that? Well, we live in Missouri, and so for my lunch break, for when I have a chance during the day, I've learned now that I go to a lake, a creek, a river, and I just start casting. You know, and here I'll tell you, secretly, I pray, God, would you let me catch one fish so I can feel the vibration, and then I'm done. I promise I'll
Yeah.
put it back. I'll put it back. But what I'm going with there is along with the comedy that I watch every day,
Mm.
and what I mean every day, I mean even Saturday and Sunday. I find ways that bring life to me, meaning I
Mm.
go and fish when I have the time. If you notice my wall, and you're talking about singing, for me, whenever I'm feeling it now, because I feel it in my stomach, I grab the ukulele. Is the smaller thing that you see on the wall.
Mm. Right
It
above
has
you.
you just play it open chord and it just makes you smile. It's just like ring,
Mm.
that ring. And so I do all of those things. So is there any other things that, like, if you say, okay, what is your personalized stress management plan, if we can talk about something like that? For me, it's comedy, it's music, it's
Yeah.
fishing. And so what other ideas can you give us?
Yeah, I think one that the number one that we're missing in our world today is connection. We
Mm,
are not connected to other people well, and I can almost guarantee everybody that's listening to this right now, you could grow in this one. A lot of people blame this on COVID. We were already more disconnected when COVID happened than at any point in human history.
mhm,
You used to live with mom, dad, grandma, grandpas, aunts, uncles, cousins. We did all of our activities together. We had very communal societies. Vast majority of human history. Look at us today.
mhm,
And we're working too much, and I work too much, my wife works too much. I'm not judging anybody. Like, this is a real problem for a lot of people. And we're not getting enough. And then I'm telling you, these phones are killers.
mm,
They built every single app around a simple concept, which is your basic human need of connection isn't met, and we're going to make you think you're getting that need met with our app. So if my friendship streak on Snapchat, or I have 500 Facebook friends, or all these things are, I got the like button, all that is designed to make you think that human needs to be met. This is actually, I'll find people, I schedule all of my social interaction time. Schedule coffee, schedule lunch. Don't call me. Sunday night at 6:30. I talk to my college roommates every night for 90 minutes, or every Sunday night for 90 minutes. Best part of my week. And so I'm going on a trip Friday, going to New York City to see this small band that nobody's ever heard of that me and my buddies like. And so we make that connection time a priority, because
mhm,
once again, if you're not, how often has it been where you went 2 months without connecting with that person that sees you, that gets you, that validates you? And most
mhm.
people, COVID made it worse because we isolated, and a lot of us we just stayed isolated.
Yeah.
We need to be intentional about our connection with other people.
And that was another hurdle that I needed to jump over, because what happened is, being being an entrepreneur, and so being in my office, and I mean, I work from home, so it's like I didn't have that connection. So another thing that really was bringing stress to my life is, is I didn't have that human connection. So what I needed to do is I started getting out of the house. Like I will go to a coffee shop,
Mm,
that I do my work that I can be interrupted during I do that. So I started doing all that stuff because, like you're saying, connection is a big, big thing. And you really,
mm,
you got me to think about this, in a world that supposedly we are more connected, we are more disconnected, right? And I'm thinking about this analogy
mm,
here. So I don't know about you, but when I go to a restaurant or a coffee shop, one of the first things that I ask, I know how to read the menu, but I ask, hey, do you guys have Wi-Fi here? What am I looking for?
mm,
Connection, right? For my device.
mm,
But isn't that the same thing that we do whenever we go to the store and somebody try to make eye contact with us and or say
mm,
something, and we sometimes dismiss it, but really what they're looking
mm,
for is connection.
mm.
I mean, and so
Yeah, and that's
yeah, go ahead.
no, I think you're hitting on something really, really big. And I think people are using that for positive and negative. There's a big vacuum right
Mm-hmm.
now for people that are really desperate for connection. You look at a lot of the unhealthy leaders in our culture today, especially with young men, and you'll see people are filling that vacuum. And that's something that like gangs, for example, have preyed on for a very long time. They look for people that are alone, they're isolated. We're
Mm-hmm.
going to provide you family connection, even though we know that's not what it is. But they're just so desperate for it that they people take advantage of that.
Mm. Because what you're saying is, whenever I think that all of us, and once again I go back into this, but I'm gonna do it for myself. So most of us, when we go and we're talking to somebody, we're deep inside, we're thinking, do you care about me? Um,
Mm-hmm.
can you help me? And
Mm,
the $1 million one, can I trust you?
mm,
So uh, especially when somebody's being vulnerable or trying to, like, do you care about me?
mm,
Can you help me? And can I trust you? I think that deep inside, I found myself asking that question many times. I've been wanted to go deeper in a conversation. But the thing is too, I learned, English is my second language. So I learned that how are you doing, because of all the, everybody feels so just touchy now, is it just means it's a synonym of hi, because you
yeah,
don't,
they don't authentically want to connect
yeah,
with you.
no,
Yeah,
they don't, because
they
I
want to
tried
talk
it.
about the weather or yeah,
Yeah. And
yeah,
you know what? For me, it takes more energy to have shallow conversations that go deeper. So sometimes it's like I feel that lack of connection, and so it's just very, very important too. I wanted as we are closing today, I just want to tell our audience, Josh is going to be one of our live speakers at an event that we're going to be hosting here in Jefferson City, and I'm proud to say that we're going to be bringing quality speakers, all the way. We're going to virtually, we're going to have John Maxwell, we're going to have Michael Jr. talking about comedy, man. We're going to laugh that day too.
he's great.
So
He
Michael
is
Jr. is going to be
great.
there, and John Gordon, who speaks at big events with NFL coaches and all of that, and Chantel Lowe, who is a four-time Olympian, and then we're partnered with Capital City Christian Church. So our very good friend Frank is going to be the MC. I'm going to be talking there too, but we have Josh, Laura, and Ron who is going to be speaking there. So get your tickets today. This will be an awesome event where Josh is going to be going deeper. He's going to be going wider and several other topics. So I invite you to do that as well. I want you to talk about a little bit as we are closing, Josh. Tell us a little bit about your book that you have, and touch a little bit on that trauma based
Mhm.
component that you bring to the schools and all the organizations, and tell us a little bit about your book and website where we can visit you and get you booked for big events.
Yeah, so I'm I'm a former educator and mental health professional, and I really stumbled upon this trauma-informed movement, and it really shifted my paradigm away from what's wrong with this kid, label disorder, to what happened to this kid. How do I surround them with the interventions they need to heal and thrive? And so I'm a lifelong learner, started reading books, going to conferences, and then I found the stuff works, and I saw kids be successful that I've never seen be successful before. And so when you have something that's good, you want to share with people. So I just started talking to local foster parents, educators, whoever. Fast forward today, I get to travel all over this country and share this message. And I wrote a book about it here. You can get on Amazon. Be Their Hero, Trauma Informed Care. My website, Josh Varner Consulting @gmail.com. But I love sharing this message. And really, when I was sharing that message with educators post COVID, a lot of them were struggling with stress. And so that's where the stress talk came from. The thing I want to talk to you about is trauma, but the stress thing came out, and that talk started really going well. And then all of a sudden, healthcare workers are like, hey, man, we're struggling too. Because you want to talk about the two professions that got hit hard by COVID, educators and healthcare workers. So I work with a lot of hospitals now. And then, other clients, I have banking clients, manufacturing clients, whatever. And so a lot of people are struggling with their mental health. But what I love about understanding that trauma piece is a lot of these behaviors we're seeing from people that are struggling in our community today have roots from those childhood traumatic events. And when we can recognize that and support them with evidence-based practices, we can get the outcomes we want. And so I'm really excited to share that message, and been really, really fortunate to share that with a lot of different people.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And guys, I want to invite you to go to joshvarnerconsulting.com. So here we go. You can read more about him. He's got a huge record of amazing keynotes and workshops, and you can do a lot of other things. So hear the testimonies, and really, Josh is an amazing person. Like I say, I'm privileged to call him my friend, and I want to publicly, Josh, thank you for you've helped me a lot. You helped me understand a lot, not only about my kids, especially my two boys, who the story very well. I shared that with you, but one of the things that you did for me that I publicly want to thank you, and also everywhere I go, because I do keynote speaking around the country as well, but everywhere I just talk about it, because you really helped me heal some things and unlocked a lot of things in my life. Because I remember the day, I don't know if you remember this, but we were at a restaurant, because we get together once in a while, and
We
we like to eat and talk and laugh. Okay, that's our agenda,
That's our
right?
thing.
Food.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I remember whenever I was sharing with you about my childhood friends, and when I say, some of them are dead, some others are in prison, because I'm a native of El Salvador, so I survived a civil war, the gang factor that was in El Salvador for a long time. And then I was just trying to figure out, like, what happened to me. In a way, I was having like a survival guilt in a way, because
Mm,
I should be dead. I mean, why am I not in prison? And I was having like a crisis in those days, And so I remember when I asked you, I shared everything. I went like completely. I don't know if I should have, but I did it, and I'm glad.
no, I love your
But
vulnerability. Yeah.
so I went, and then you just I remember, man, you just look at me, and you said this. You said, that's post-traumatic growth, Heber.
Mm,
And I was like, what? Post-traumatic growth? Because everybody talks about post-traumatic stress disorder.
hmm
I have never heard that concept before. So as we wrap this up, coming from the stress management now, sharing, because I know that your passion is the trauma area here. And can
Yeah.
you just touch, like, give us the short version about what does that mean, and how helpful that is for a human to really understand and strive
Yeah.
to get to that point?
Yeah. Well, first, thank you for those kind words. And I remember hearing you speak at church for the first time, and I just was blown away by your passion, your message. I think you're phenomenal what you do, and privileged to call you my friend too, and be a part of your life. But post traumatic growth, yeah, it's when you can go through hard things, and somebody comes along and helps you deal with those tough things, you know, you heal, and there's these beautiful gifts that can come out of those painful experiences. And so I think that's what we talked about is like, I always say to people all the time, we don't need you to feel sorry for these kids. We don't need you to look down on them. We don't need you. We need you to connect with them, because when you connect, when people become resilient through our relationships, you know, and so you had people, despite the really unimaginably difficult things you went through, you had people that came alongside you, and now you have all these beautiful gifts that you get to share with the world because of that connection that other people gave you. And so that's post-traumatic growth. I really feel like that's the meaning of life. Like when we can use our pain and heal it and use that experience to help other people, I think that's why we're here. You know, and I think you're an awesome living example of that. I travel all over the country. I make this part of my talk, and I say, you know, who was a hero in your life? Who made an impact in your life? And it's amazing because it's always everyday people. It's a teacher, it's a coach, it's a pastor, it's a uncle, it's a grandparent. It's just everyday people. And I think a lot of times we think you need this, you know, mental health specialist. And I'm not diminishing my profession, like psychologists, psychiatrists, all these people are really important. But when you talk about who really makes, you know, that impact in somebody's life, it's just normal everyday people. And so I'm just a believer. We got to make sure everybody in our community, and so I love about this event, we're going to get to talk about some of this stuff. How do we make sure everybody in our community that's struggling has somebody that'll come alongside them and connect with them and love them so that they can share their gifts with the next generation?
Absolutely. And thank you so much. And yes, the invitation is there. You want to hear more about this? We're going to be talking, we're going to be diving deeper in this Live to Lead Jefferson City 2024. This is our first time ever. There are only 300 licenses around the world, and we got the privilege to have one of those here in town. So if you're from Colombia or I mean Springfield, I mean, it's a 2.5 hour drive. So I invite you to, to buy your ticket. I'm gonna be putting the link in the chat and everything else that you need for that matter to register and bring your team and all of this. And it's gonna be an awesome day. It's gonna be a leadership development, but more than anything, I'm passionate about it. I'm on a mission to bring value to raise the leadership bar and bring all of these topics to this. And I thank you, Josh, so much for saying yes to this and for bringing your knowledge and your skills to our community as well, because we need that. And so closing, Josh, you just got done saying, when somebody help you, when somebody create that mm, true, real and meaningful connection, and that you call it, be their hero. Well, I want to tell you something. You are that hero for me because you done a lot of things for me, and I just thank you so much for you are at the tangible side of what a new concept in our organization have, a high road leader. Why? Because high road leaders, they value all people. High
Mm.
road leader, they give more than they take. And I always appreciate, Josh, your sweet spirit, your kind heart, and you're a very generous person, and you're always available to talk to people and to add value to me. So once again, thank you so much. You are that hero that you talk about over there. Well, you got a person here that is very thankful for what you've done in my life. So I thank you for that. And so, any final words for our friends and anything else that you want to say to our audience here?
No, thanks for those great words, Ever. That means a lot to me, and I think that's what we're all striving to do is make an impact in somebody's life. So I'm glad that, and you've definitely made an impact of mine too. And I just hope to see everybody out. You know, I have people ask me all the time, "Hey, when are you going to be local?" I travel around a lot. This is a local event. There's some great people here, and so I'm really looking forward to I love speaking, but more than anything, I love connecting with you guys. I'll
Yeah.
be there all day. Look forward to just seeing people talking about what's going on in your life, and let's just connect and grow.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. And once again, this is Live to Lead, and this event is going to be here in Jefferson City. Is October the 25th, and all you need to do is click the link that I'm going to be putting there in the chats and hit the get tickets. You can become a sponsor as well, and you're going to be able to see local speakers, but also you're going to be able to see and hear from John, Michael, John Gordon, and Chantello. But more than anything, once again, like Josh was saying, this is a local event. This is something that it's going to be of value of everybody. So thank you very much for staying with us. And I'm going to be posting also Josh's information and the links, and so the in the chat. And so I encourage you to go and check it out. I hope we added value to you today. So I pray that you will be able to continue living well, wisely, humbly, and boldly. So, see you next time. Be well and have a wonderful rest of the week. Thank you, guys.